How's it going, everyone? Blueknight here, and welcome back to the channel with, the first podcast of, the channel. And I'm joined by my co-host, Bassub Gaming.
Hey everyone, how's it going? I thought you were...
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I'm another gaming YouTuber. I like to talk about Spongebob games, Sly Cooper, and pretty much whatever I feel like at the time.
Now, we are short one co-host today because last minute stuff came up, but hopefully MillerWireless will be able to join us next week for the next episode. But until then, we are joined by a special guest from the Spongebob Rehydrated community, RidersDX.
Yeah, I live and breathe SpongeBob every single second of the day, so I feel very happy to be here talking more about SpongeBob.
So, before we, actually that was already the introduction, so I guess we'll move on to a quick bit of SpongeBob Rehydrated news that Riders brought to our attention right before we dive right into the main part of the podcast. So, why don't you go ahead and fill us in on that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I want to, kind of brief myself on what's been going on before we did this today, because I've been taking hibernation from the internet for the past few days, and I was like, nothing major Rehydrated related happened, did it? And I looked today, and it turns out there were a couple things. Like, first I heard that the Switch patch was out, which I'm pretty eager to go try. And then the other thing was, apparently there was a sales report on how much Rehydrated has sold so far. I'm not sure where it came from, but it seemed pretty legit when I looked at it for like 2 seconds. And it stated that Rehydrated has officially sold over 1 million copies, which I think is awesome. That's really, really great news to hear. I know THQ Nordic said that it was doing well, but to kind of hear that's crossed the million mark is pretty awesome, especially given everything that's been going on.
Yeah, and what's really impressive is I know this ain't going to compare to Crash in terms of sales, but when we look at the Crash Insane trilogy, that actually sold like 3.5 million in between June launch and September of that same year, just for PS4. Of course, SpongeBob, like I said, is not going to compete with Crash in that sense, but still, this is pretty darn good for a current SpongeBob game. Well, the first good SpongeBob game come out in a while.
I think people were overall shocked at how much people actually cared about it, because I think THQ Nordic is a relatively small company compared to Activision. They're definitely a lot smaller, and so I think that
definitely
they probably had lower expectations when it came to Rehydrated. But I think the fact that not only did you see Rehydrated sell 1 million copies, but seeing all these different big YouTube channels cover the game all of a sudden, I think we were all kind of surprised, at least I definitely was, that this game actually kind of made it to the mainstream in a way. And I just think it really shows the potential SpongeBob games have in this industry. If you actually made good to decent SpongeBob games, people will actually buy them. It doesn't have to be another trashy video game license franchise. And so I think it's been pretty cool seeing that in the past couple months.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm actually really ecstatic about this because, I mean, it was pretty apparent when they announced Rehydrated, what that meant. THQ Nordic had some faith in SpongeBob to, greenlight this. But with the recent success, I think that just goes to show that they're probably going to go even further into SpongeBob and put even more into it, which is very exciting for me because I've been wanting to see more SpongeBob games for some time now. I think Rehydrated was a great first step, but even another open world SpongeBob game I think could be even bigger than this one. Something like that.
My mouth is watering just thinking about it.
Seriously. There's a lot of potential. I mean, there's 12 seasons of the show. Battle for Bikini Bottom was based off the first 2 or 3. A lot more locations, a lot more possibilities. It can get crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot of extra SpongeBob lore they can really throw into a future game if they decided to. And if I heard correctly, they are cooking up ideas for the sequel or the next game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I remember like that was a question I did an interview with Martin Crouch, who was a producer on this game, and I was selecting questions from like people to ask him, and that was one of the questions, which was what they would do with a sequel. I'm like, I think that was the first question I put down because that was my ultimate dream, is to see like sequel to Battlefield King Bomb. You know, same engine, same like gameplay philosophy and such, but just make it bigger and better. And apparently, Purple Aim Studios, you know, while they made the game, they had a bunch of ideas of what they'd want to do with a sequel. And so, yeah, I think some of the things that he mentioned, he really tried his best not to give anything away, which I don't blame him. But a couple of things that he did mention was that he kind of referenced a few fun objects in the SpongeBob franchise, such as the reef blower, or when SpongeBob, you know, in the episode where he tried to fly and his pants were inflated, he kind of mentioned those two things as potential things to incorporate into another game. And so he basically just said that they had like a laundry list of ideas that they'd love to do with a second game. It's not confirmation that they'll get to do a second game, but I think they'll definitely try to pursue something else, because it's clear that they're really passionate about the franchise.
Especially since the game sold as well as it did, and that they're still working on patching the game than just leaving it as is at launch.
Yeah,
They're like the replayable bosses and stuff like that. They, of course, we'll get into that later, but still, it's great to see that they're still supporting the game.
Yeah, I'm very ecstatic that there's going to be a Switch patch. I do have the game on Switch, but I've barely played it on there because I started playing it when it first came out, and it was just atrocious. I got it on an Xbox immediately, and even that wasn't all that great. So
yeah,
it's pretty bad.
The Switch patch is already out, and in fact, I've got the Switch on with the pause menu for the game sitting right here in front of me. I only got as far as Goo Lagoon after the patch downloaded, so
yeah.
I mean, so far it plays smoother and all that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it more than I did first day I got it.
Yeah, I've beaten the game almost 4 times now for a lot of different reasons, and I've been doing challenges and stuff, which I'm definitely gonna end up making videos on. But I kind of got like tired of the game for a bit, so I'm excited to pick it back up on Switch. You know, play it every once in a while on the go. I get another playthrough in.
I bought it on the Switch.
Yeah, I beat it like 2 times already. I'm on.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I beat it like 2 times already, and this time is like my 3rd playthrough. So yeah, it's pretty good so far on the Woofy update and all that. I mean, when I first played it, I was waiting on the day 1 patch, and oh boy, I want to get into that later. But
even that didn't do too much, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh.
It did add some animations and things. I will give it credit there. So
yeah, I kind of have a funny story. I mean, it's not super related, but I got the game right when it launched, digitally, because you couldn't really find it in stores all that much because it had just come out. So I got it on the Xbox. That's $30, and I had already ordered a Fun Edition. That was going to be Switch. That was probably going to come like 2 days later because it was Amazon and everything. But I wanted to play it immediately, so I got it on the Xbox. And for both of those versions, the load times were terrible and everything. So I was like, you know what? I'll get it a 3rd time. I'll get it on the PC. I should have done more research and stuff. My PC isn't all that great. And it ended up running the worst on the PC. So now I have 3 copies of the game. And 2 of them are pretty much unplayable. And then I also wanted to do a challenge for YouTube, which you guys will probably see soon. And to do that, you need a certain version of the game. And I downloaded it digitally on the Xbox already. And there's this thing that you can do. If you get games physically on the Xbox, you can delete all the data from it, all the updates and everything, and then turn your console on without the internet and play the original version of the game. And I needed a certain version of it to complete it, and it couldn't be the Switch version. So I bought it a 4th time physically on the Xbox. So it was just $120 for the same game, and I only play 1 version. I just thought that was funny.
Oh man, like I'm very close to doing that too. Actually, like HQ Nordic did provide me a review copy, so it's not as bad. But I was really bored like this past week because there was this huge storm that like hit the East Coast, and my power like went out for almost a week, and so my family did have a generator, from because we had like an outage before actually that lasted a really long time, and they were able to get the internet working, but we had to conserve power, and so I really didn't have much to do, so I decided to just buy the game again on Switch and start playing that. And I own like 3 copies now. I own the PS4 version, the PC version, and the Switch version. I'm thinking about going to my friend's place and secretly buying the game on his Xbox One, so that I can say that I bought all 4. I kind of own all 4 versions in a sense, so don't worry. I understand that level of commitment. I'm very much there with you.
I wanted to get, well, since I was getting 4 versions the last time, I was like, okay, I might as well just get the PS4 version, and then there will be some sort of meaning to all of this. But they were sold out, so I just got another Xbox copy, so I can get that original version that was attached.
Here's a real question, though. Did anyone get the Stadia version?
No, sir.
I don't even want to know. Let's see.
I was like so shocked.
Maybe one person. Maybe only did.
Because
if you're watching, somebody out there is watching this who bought the game on Stadia. Let us know how it went.
I can't imagine doing that because it was already like atrocious at launch in terms of bugs and everything. Now you got to stream the game. That's just a whole other thing.
Yeah, where people's Chromecasts were literally melting because it got so hot with the whole Stadia thing.
Yeah, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, that was yeah. Yeah, Google should have done something way different with that. Even Destroy All Humans made it onto the Stadia, which is THQ Nordic of a remake.
I'm sure Google appreciates THQ Nordic's commitment to pleasing the 5 people that have that platform at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, like my internet, oh boy, I couldn't even get PS Now to work. Me trying to run Stadia.
I couldn't stream up until like a couple months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and my internet still ain't good enough for streaming. So, and I got a little. It's maybe not as funny of a story for SpongeBob Rehydrated, but I actually didn't get the game till 2 weeks after it launched, and. Actually put in a request for a review code because Purple Lamp Studios they give me 2 emails to to send my request to THQ. I didn't hear back. So and then on top of that, what made matters worse is my local stores can have a physical Switch version, and I'm one of those people who prefer the physical copies over the digital versions. Which I unfortunately had to get Tasmanian Tiger physically because but it's still a good game. So yeah, I wound up just ordering it online, and that's why I had it cheaper. So
yeah, I saw that on your Twitter. I mean, every day was another update. Oh, they didn't have it. They didn't have it. I felt for you in that moment, man.
Yeah, it was bad. I went literally to Walmart. So I literally went from GameStop and then went over to Walmart, which is right across the street, and neither of them had it. They were all sold out. Both times. It was at the same time. I didn't check any other day, but same day. So I technically waited maybe 3 weeks to get it.
Wow.
It took like a week to get here after ordering it.
I actually was looking for a physical copy at one point too. And when I went to GameStop, a few days in like succession, and I constantly could not find it. And one of the employees finally told me that the game was kind of released in a limited form. So they didn't create a lot of copies, unfortunately. So that's why it was practically sold out, like in every store that I went to. They said that they only sent enough copies for like people that reserved it, and just a few copies here and there for anyone that might stumble into the store and buy it. It was really funny though, because like I remember going like the day it was released, and I walked in and I saw like these 5 like 25 to 30-year-old men at the line, and they all were asking for Rehydrated, and I was like, oh, this makes my heart like feel so good, you know. It's nothing more awesome than
yeah, that day I went to Walmart. To get it. They didn't have the Switch version, but they had an Xbox One version, and so I walked out of there with all they had for SpongeBob was the Game Center magazine or whatever with SpongeBob on it, and it happened to be a free issue, so I picked it up. That's all I walked out of there with.
Yeah, that's good though. I mean, considering it's selling so much and there was a limited quantity, I mean, that's a dub for THQ Nordic. And I guess Purple Lamp as well.
Yeah. I didn't even know
really
it
do
was
feel
in
like
limited quantities.
Yeah, I really do feel like the game was undercooked in terms of its success. I feel like if it was pushed a lot more, then it definitely could have done bigger numbers, because the general interest is there. You know, it was definitely there, and I think if it had like the means and the resources to really push it, it could have been like a really big title. But I think the success that it saw is still pretty admirable. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah, THQ played it safe, and I think it did pay off. So, yeah, I think it did pay off enough. I mean, yeah, they had these like little trailers like every week or whatever. I remember I would just go and analyze the heck out of these things because, what I do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, I was pointing even at the most insignificant details. Like, I think it was the Flying Dutchman's graveyard. Like, the wonderful wall junk sections was mixing the... What was it? I think you can see behind the hexagonal piece or something. No. It was for wall jump segments. I pointed out that they were metal. They were wood instead of metal from the original. And I just basically made fun of myself in that video for that.
Hey, I'm sure I watched that video and loved every second of it. It's just, I mean, I was looking for anything as well. I was so excited for that game.
I made sure to watch everyone's videos, everyone I could find anyway, as the game was leading up to release, because I wanted to support the community, but also I wanted to make sure that I at least had something to mention that no one else had mentioned yet.
Yeah,
So
same.
that was
Same. If you uploaded a video, I would watch it. If Bassub uploaded a video, which I did watch the sock one, the 82nd sock, or was 81st?
It was the 81st
I think
one.
it's
And
81st.
that actually got patched. I need to like update the title or something.
Oh, it did. I tried it recently. It did work, but I don't know if they fixed it with his most recent patch or not.
Yeah, that sucks. It's weird because I don't, other than the Switch version, I'm definitely gonna update the Switch version. But whenever I play it on an Xbox, I don't update it or anything because I like the glitch hunting thing aspect of it, and that a lot of the glitches don't work as much anymore. I like to break the game as much as possible, so yeah, I just keep it on the oldest version. But that also means there's a lot of other problems.
I broke the game. Oh, actually, I didn't. Someone I know managed to get Patrick and Sandy into these areas that they're not supposed to be in. They showed me how to do it. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did post that on Twitter, but I might talk a little bit more about that later on because we will be talking about some of the bugs and glitches. So, the pre-patch, there was a lot of them.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do in, older games that I love. And Rehydrated, since it was already like built on a previous experience, I kind of dove right into the glitch hunting even before I finished the game. I had like 10 spatulas and I was already just looking for stuff and goofing off.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for people that can
that'd be
just hunt for the most random things. You know, I think that's something I really learned while working with Shift in the speedrun community under Relief in particular. Is I kind of just learned a lot about the speedrun community in general, and they literally find the most random things that I would never think of, even contemplating that, oh, this might be a possible thing. Oh, this random thing leads to this. You know, it never really dawned on me. I'm way too oblivious to everything going on in the game to pick up on it. So, you know, lots of respect to glitch hunters and such.
Yeah, and speedrunners for sure. I mean, I remember for the second round of Rehydrate, well, yeah, I mean, it's probably the second round of Rehydrated Relief. I don't remember exactly. I tried to learn the any percent speed run, and just I knew I wasn't gonna do good. It was gonna be more of a meme run. Look how bad I am. But I couldn't even learn the route in time with 2 weeks practice. I think I just ended up playing the game or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy the amount of time and effort it takes to do that kind of stuff.
Let's see. My mouse got stuck, so I was just going back to the outline or whatever. I know this isn't the best segue or whatever you call it when you go from one.
Hey guys,
but,
I missed something.
My microphone went out for a second.
Oh, no worries.
Okay, what were we saying?
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about what we fought on Rehydrated.
Loved it.
Really... Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Now, here's the thing. I've got 2 sets of thoughts, though. And really, I want to do with a second set, which is after the patch. But I can't really give those complete thoughts because I'm still at Goo Lagoon and haven't got any further after the patch. First set of thoughts was first got it, the pre-patch. Well, actually, it didn't even start with the pre-patch. Actually, the box art. So did you guys see the back of the box art?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
That's I compared it to Crash. No, I compared it to Spyro, which ran on the same engine. Of course, it's cover art, so it ain't gonna really matter on that. But oh boy, that's not the best looking cover art I've ever seen.
Well, you know,
the front's fine. It's the back.
You know, I have a lot of nostalgia for the original game. I got it all the way back when I was in elementary school, and when I got that game, you know, I remember looking at it in the store that I got it from, and I was staring intensely at the back cover art, and you know, it had this army color pattern on it. It had these little screenshots and it had these little captions for each of the pictures and such. I was like, wow, this looks like an awesome game. No, I really want to buy it, so I begged my mom to death that day, and she ended up getting it for me. But then I looked at the back of Rehydrated, and it just seems really plain in comparison. So that was a little disappointing, but I mean,
yeah, that was really disappointing for me too, because the original, of course, was obviously better in terms of the back cover art. And of course, the side cover art with on the Switch. I mean, all the Switch games are just red with white text, so I don't really count, because the other systems I'm sure have a normal looking side cover.
Yeah, I can't stand the Switch ones. It's always hard to find what I'm looking for on the shelf.
yeah.
Yeah, I got 6 games right here, and I'll set them at the end of the desk. I'd have to look and see how long the text is just to figure out which one it is.
Right.
Because and SpongeBob Rehydrated is the longest one, way longer than Crash or Crash Racing. And of course, the big old THQ Nordic logo on the side of it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, but
I guess in their defense,
got-
games are digitally bought mostly nowadays anyway. So
yeah,
Unfortunately.
they don't make instruction manuals anymore, and I'm like,
I
Save
used
on
to
paper
love
or something.
I know people like don't like reading manuals in general, but I don't know. I enjoyed looking through them as a kid. You know, it was one of the only things I'd actually read as a kid. But you know, because it's like,
Yeah,
especially the
because I remember
SpongeBob ones in
the
particular, they would like have some really neat descriptions for the levels, and like maybe even like some cheat codes. I feel like in
yeah.
one of the games I bought, and so you know, it wasn't. It did not feel like a waste of time for me at all as a kid.
Yeah, and that reminds me, the Sly Cooper instruction manuals. I really like what they did with those because it's got the Phoebus Raccoonus on it, and with every game, I don't know about Sly 4, but it gets older and older looking.
Well, the thing
Inside
is,
of it,
Sly
you
4
know,
didn't
they
have
have
one.
these character.
I said the thing is, Sly 4 didn't have one.
Oh boy, that's worse. But and in these instruction manuals, I actually only have Sly 1 anymore. I don't know what happened. Well, I lost Sly 2 and Freeze. Yeah, rip those. But Sly 1, from what I found, they actually had Sly and Bentley, and I think even Murray talking to each other in the instruction manual. I found it really entertaining, just to read through that. And that was interesting. Ratchet and Clank even had some interesting instruction manuals. But of course, I think Sly's was most unique in that sense.
Yeah, it makes sense though. You know, they're not really needed nowadays, and it ups the cost to produce them.
Yeah,
So.
I mean people know how to operate the game, like X, jump, circle, whatever. Well, in
Yeah.
Sly's case, it's the main mechanic. But anyways, I got a little off topic there.
It's all good.
That's off. In terms of SpongeBob Rehydrated, it's bright. It's pretty looking. I mean, just like Spyro. Okay, Spyro. Yes, it does look pretty darn good. But SpongeBob, for some reason, outdoes it with the colors. That's one of the immediate things that I had to comment on when first starting the game. Because it is a cartoon, after all.
Mhm.
Spyro is
Yeah.
not based on a cartoon, but it's got a cartoony aesthetic.
Yeah.
I could
But
look at
SpongeBob
all
is much
day.
more brighter.
Yeah, I know that was like kind of a topic for debate within the community leading up to the release and even afterwards. Because you know, I personally love the art style. I think it looks gorgeous, and whenever I boot the game up, I fall in love with it all over again. Like it just looks amazing, and I had that opinion ever since I saw screenshots of it for the very first time. But there's a lot of people that actually don't like how colorful it is and think it's way too saturated, and I can kind of see that viewpoint. I think it really is a matter of taste, and especially since the original game was a lot more duller. But I think you have to kind of take into account that that was the norm for games back then. Like games kind of most games really had that like similar color scheme. But when you look at a lot of like the platformer games nowadays, they're all a lot more brighter, a lot more colorful, a lot more saturated. It's not just video games either. It's like all forms of media, you know, movies,
and
TV
stuff like that.
shows, comics, even, you know, everything's a lot more colorful and saturated.
I mean,
I think it's
if we look at
fine to like
if we look at the original, if we look at the original PS2 Ratchet and Clank, and then compare it to the 2016 remastering of a movie, it's a heck of a lot brighter in terms of colors and all that. Definitely better looking, and same can be said for SpongeBob. I'm looking at. I just haven't paused my game right this second to look at the Kelp Cave section, and looks pretty good. And Gary's doing the. Never mind. But it's just the particle effects too. That's what I really like about it. Is that it really helps breathe more life into these environments.
Yeah.
I never. It's a kind of minor detail, but it's a more noticeable one.
Definitely. Oh, Kelp Forest, that definitely had the biggest glow up of all the levels in that game.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's just gorgeous. And yeah, I love it. You know, the game looks great. But I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea. I totally get it.
I skipped past the Tiki section. I found that out after watching Ant Dude's video, and I thought it was pretty funny that you can actually skip that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's... I don't think they intended to do that at all, but I think it was
No.
pretty creative how someone must have found that. I thought that was probably really creative.
What section are we talking about?
That Tiki challenge
Forest,
when
the Tiki Roundup section.
Is that in the
The
caves?
Tiki Roundup.
No, it's right before the
outside
caves. You're using Patrick.
I think I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I actually tested it. It does work, and to be honest, I'm glad that exists because it is such a pain. Even in Rehydrated too. Maybe
You can
not so much a
complete
pain, but it's
Kelp Forest in like 5 minutes now, backwards.
yeah. I mean, I know
Well,
what
you
to
should
do
take me-
inside out now. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's funny that, I mean,
like,
go ahead.
well, it's just in the original Kelp Forest like took me a stupid amount of time to figure out what to do. And of course, it wasn't until recently when Rehydrated was announced that I started to pick up more and more on what I'm actually supposed to do, and I ended up 100%ing the game. That's actually something that took years to figure out. Yeah, I will admit that. It took years to figure out Kelp Forest for me.
Funny enough,
same for.
Yeah,
Well, I never completed the game when I was younger. I was incapable of doing that, I guess. I completed it for the first time in like the past year.
Wow.
But
Well-
I'd always loved the game. I've been playing it like most of my life. I mean, it came out in 2003. I was born in 2002. I'm 18 right now. So, I mean, it's been around me pretty much forever. So,
Gotcha.
but in terms of
I
completing
still remember
it was
getting.
recent.
I still remember getting the original App Store when I was younger, and yeah, been playing it a long time. I played the heck out of it. It's one of the only Nick games I played the heck out of back in the day.
Yeah,
I mean, yes, I had Sly, had Crash, had Spyro, and Ty, and all of these other games, but this is one of the ones I think I played the most.
So, like, I had kind of the opposite experience. It's one of the only games I could finish as a kid. So, I think it's because, like, I played very few games when I was a kid, and I only selected a few that I really loved and just played them obsessively. So, I think there's only, like, 2 games that I managed to 100% in all of elementary and middle school, and that was BFBB and Sonic Heroes. And so I remember just playing it to death, and I think I figured out how to 100% it like a couple years down playing it. And yeah, I always thought the game was like, it was definitely difficult, don't get me wrong, like there definitely was some very difficult moments. Like I still
Especially Kelp
died
Forest.
like 10 times. Yes, I still die like 10 times at least while trying to beat Mermaid Man's time to Kelp Slide. It's
Oh,
definitely,
that's a nightmare.
yeah, it's
Rehydrated
really
is
really
even
tough.
more of a nightmare.
It was crazy for me about a year ago finding the speedrunning community and everything. Once again, also rediscovering the game itself and never having like completed it. And I remember when I was younger, it was very difficult for me to do so. Watch it, and it would take me days and weeks and stuff to get like to the 3rd section of the game, and you see the speedrunners do it in half a second or something like that. I mean, it was just mind blowing.
Yeah, we just skipped through half the game.
Just
Yeah, no
like that.
problem.
Yeah, and I have a similar thing too. Even today I have like a handful of games that I play obsessively and glitch hunt and do all sorts of stuff with. That's just how I've always been with games as well. So I've been really into Rehydrated recently.
Yeah, I kind of not played it for a couple months because I was waiting for another patch to drop and to fix some of the issues. Now, I did make a video talking about my issues, which is kind of an outdated video now since they released this big patch. for all the versions. Now, some of the issues were exclusive to just the Switch version, and I don't want to go into that just yet because I don't know, are we still giving our thoughts about Rehydrated here, or?
I've about summed up most of my thoughts.
I think I'll just say that I think it's a really solid recreation of the original. I'm fully confident that any new player that comes to pick up Rehydrated is going to get the original game. I think there's a part of me that's always going to prefer the original. I think first of all it's less buggy, so I think that's a big plus. But also the fact that like that's where my memories are stored with the game. So it's very nostalgic to me whenever I go back to the original, and I don't think this remake was ever going to top it for me. But funny enough, you know, I've talked to a lot of people that played Rehydrate for the first time and did not play the original, and when they try to go play the original, they actually don't like it. Like they really do enjoy like how Rehydrate recreated everything. So I think it's a perfectly fine recreation of the original overall.
Agreed.
Oh, one thing I do want to bring up real quick is the controls.
Yeah.
I do really like the controls. It does feel a bit smoother than the original, especially given that Sandy can now attack in midair or lasso. Same for Patrick. Awesome. Actually, interesting enough, Patrick has 2 different slams. I didn't actually realize that when I was making videos about the game. But that's interesting. But I didn't realize that you have to jump twice in order to stun enemies. That took a little while to get used to.
Yeah.
Oh, you do? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it took me a little while to get used to that. Funny thing. You know how with Crash or Spyro or even Crash Team Racing, muscle memory would start kicking in, like how you would play the original, how it felt?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Hydrated, for some reason, it didn't kick in for me until the final boss.
Oh yeah,
And,
well, it feels very different. I mean, Spongebob or the characters are a lot heavier in this game, I'd say. A lot floatier, at least.
I felt the same way. It didn't really
Yeah.
It didn't really kick in for me either until like halfway through the game. I played through I remember when I first got the code and I was like so eager to play it. I think I got all the way to like Sand Mountain in a day, and I was just like, this feels so different.
I'm gonna come back to Sand Mountain.
Original. Yeah. And then I picked it up a couple of days later and I was like, oh wait, this actually does feel like the original. So I think it overall has a different feel. And I think I'm actually gonna have a different opinion here. I prefer how the game feels in the original. But I think that's just for me something that's how I was used to playing the game. And the slight changes they made to how Spongebob feels a little bit heavier and such, and how the moves kind of work a little bit differently, is like, I don't think it's bad. I just think it's different. You know, so I think it's all a matter of preference, really.
Like SpongeBob, yeah, all the characters actually jump a little bit higher. I did notice that. When you're playing as Sandy, oh boy, you can chain things together so quickly, and it feels so good to play Sandy. Easily the best character in the game. But the Bubble Bowl, I have a bit of a criticism for because it's tied to the camera. And I don't really know how to feel about that because in the original, you can point SpongeBob wherever you want. Like, you know exactly where you're wanting to point it, and you can throw it off screen if you want to. And also, I noticed that the Bubble Bowl kind of gets stuck a lot more in Rehydrated. Every day, I tried rolling it toward the set of Thunder Tikis next to Sandy's tree dome, and it got stuck on her tree dome when it really shouldn't have. So, and just sat there and spun until it dissipated. Of course, if they're still patching the game, then maybe they'll fix that. Maybe. As for it being tied to the camera, I'm still fixed on it. It's also a lot more bouncy. Now, I don't know. I know the original was kind of bouncy, but I don't know. This one seems more like pinballish. Maybe that's the wrong term for how I'm describing it. I mean, it's been a couple months, and I haven't tested this big patch, so I can't give my final opinions on that. I mean, I did test the Bubble Bowl, but not in those areas. In terms of how bouncy it is.
Yeah.
Also, another problem concerning the Bubble Bowl is I was playing on the Switch version. For some reason, the jump button is on the A button, which would be the circle button on the PlayStation. And the Bubble Bowl button is the B button, which would be the X button on the PlayStation. So
yeah, I played a little
me...
bit and just ended up remapping the controls.
Are you able to remap them? Because I couldn't figure it out.
Not in game, but you can go onto the Switch settings and remap your buttons.
Okay.
Really?
I didn't see in the patch notes. I think I heard about that one time, but I totally forgot about it. I didn't see in the patch notes that they made an option for that, so I don't think that's.
Well, it's
changed.
in the Switch system.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. Like
I feel like half of the people. I feel like half the people with Switch don't
What's
know
under?
that.
I didn't know that. I've been through these settings over and over. Oh, change button mapping. There it is. Right under. Right, the second one from the top.
Yeah. Oh, I don't look at settings. I just go play the games, man.
I'm using a separate wired controller, and it says I can't remap it to that. I can remap it on the Switch Lite itself. Oh man, that's a disappointment. I play better on the controller. Yeah, but that's why when I play CTR, I never play on the Switch Lite itself. It's awkward. It feels a lot better with the controller. But oh man, I didn't know that. But what did I say? I forgot what it was. But yeah, speaking of the patch, we got. I don't know if it'll let me open it now, but I did save it on Twitter about what it fixes. Find it here. It's not there. Let me find it on Twitter. Where is it? This computer won't ever load. Slow internet, slow computer. I don't have the best setup. It'll take me forever to find it. But I tweet a lot. Well, maybe not as much as I did, but it's right here somewhere. Come on. It's gotta be... Yeah, when I opened the page to the link they had in the tweet for Switchport, it came up like it didn't work. So that's why I took a screenshot of the... Where is it? PS4, Xbox One patch, and, well, it kind of went from there. Come on. It's trying to work. Nope, page can't be found. Well, I took a screenshot. No, before that. Fine. Man, I wanted to have this ready. I knew I should have bookmarked it. Well, it's around here somewhere, but you know, note to self: tweet less, or at least use the bookmarks. I do use bookmarks, but not as much as I should. Ah, here it is. Okay. Now I wait for picture to load. It says the patch notes. Now this is before it's released for Switchport, but I assume that since the page ain't working, that these patches will be applied to the Switch. They implemented a fix to minimize the chance of corrupted save games. I ain't experienced that. I don't know. I know maybe some people did, but I never experienced it. Have you guys experienced any corrupted saves or anything?
No.
No, I haven't, but I've definitely read people that have, and that just sucks.
Wait, what was it? A specific version?
I don't
No,
remember.
This is saying for the PS4 and Xbox versions, but I assume that this would be also for the Switch version. I was about to say something, and I forgot what it was. Yeah, there was a glitch where the sock in Squidward's house. Now, I think this was pre-patch. Or was it the spatula? One of them wouldn't load, and
I heard people
when
having
Pat-
problems with
when-
the one behind the Krusty Krab as well. So
yeah.
and that's
well,
why a lot of
when
people
and
looked
even
at that
after-
video that I posted because they needed an extra stock.
Yeah. Well, I used it because I couldn't remember where the one in Sand Mountain was, so I cheated a little bit. Of course, I can't do that now.
Right.
But so yeah, that prevented me from even after the patch was applied, I still couldn't get it. So, but after I started a new game, I could get it, and I don't know, I don't understand that. Anyways, if you ever patch notes, they added the option to replay for robo bosses after their first defeat. Now that was a huge issue on my part when I made that video a couple weeks back, maybe last month, and that was a huge issue because I wanted to go back and replay them and get a better feel for them because they did feel different than the original, especially Robot Sandy, because I initially blamed it on the smart camera, which it was partially to blame. So I turned that off, and I can have the camera angles sort of closer to how the original was. A lot of people complained about the Robo Sandy camera angle. That was a big problem.
Yeah, that was definitely very different. Hey, can I cut in real quick
Yeah,
here again? We're running
sure.
up on like an hour here, and I do have to leave relatively soon. So I'm just saying that if we could move on to some other stuff, that'd be great.
Okay.
I mean, you
Alright,
don't
well,
have to. You don't have to
let's move on.
rush a bunch. I just want to like be known generally.
Okay. Let's see. In the multiplayer mode now cycles randomly through the full soundtrack. Now that was honestly another big problem for me. I don't think I mentioned it in the video because it's just rock bottom music plays for the whole time, and that didn't exactly fit, if you ask me. It's almost want to put me to sleep. Add more concept art. Originally, it was just like stock images, and I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. Put in the theater. I mean, 40,000 Chinese to get in there just for stock photos, and
I haven't unlocked that yet. Shiny object grinding is even worse in this game because you don't have SBA. So, yeah, I haven't seen any of that stuff.
Well, they lowered the craft requirements at least, so
They did?
Yes, that was the
it's
next.
back to
that
Still
was the next one.
ridiculous. Still ridiculous.
Yeah,
I haven't done
It
all
was
that yet.
ridiculous. It was ridiculous before the patch. It was really ridiculous. And okay, I ain't 100%ing this. This is going to take too long. So
For some reason, when I was doing like a challenge or something, this was the very first version of the game on like the 4th copy that I bought. There was like a glitch in the game where all of the shiny objects out of everything was just the one shiny object instead of ones that have like 5 and ones that have 10 and so on. So shiny object grinding was like hell completely. Like, I do all the tricks that would get you like 1,000 at one time and give me like 50. That was ridiculous.
And the ball puzzle, that was, oh boy, that was not funnest experience. I hated it in Rehydrated compared to the original. The original, I knew it
Really?
what to do and all that, but I just hated that puzzle in Rehydrated.
Really, no. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
I mean, of course, I'm sure you guys saw the GameSpot review where the guy was literally giving the game a 2 out of 10, Uh,
Wow,
because of
forgot about
the
that.
ball puzzle. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know if that's like a joke now, because I guess I read the review, but that's one of the main highlights that I can think of from
Yeah.
that
Oh,
review.
it's a
Why I got
big.
2 out of
It's
10.
a,
It didn't.
it's a big meme in the community. Uh,
Yeah.
I saw this video where like they
Yeah.
clipped that part from the review and put like a SpongeBob production song in the background. I think it's called Tomfoolery, and I was like, "Yep, this fits really, really well." You know, it's like you you could hear like the thousands of people rushing to the comments saying like, "Just move farther back." Like that's all you need to do. Don't be a dick. Don't
Yeah.
be a dick. You know, just like be a pretentious gamer. You know, figure
Right.
some things out for yourself, and you know that's
Yeah.
something you can take into life in general. You know, it's like, you know, think a little bit outside the box, and that's not even that outside the box. You know, it simply is like move further back, and you won't have this problem. It's,
I mean-
it's literally all there is to it.
Rehydrated definitely had some problems at launch, but I feel like a 2 out of 10 is unwarranted. But you know
Oh.
what? Your opinion, whatever. It's ridiculous, but okay.
It's stupid, but you know what?
Yeah, I liked yeah, I liked Ant Dude's response to that. He said, "It's not as bad as some people claim it is, but the problems are still there. Come on,
Yeah.
man, it's not that hard. Get good."
Yeah.
that
That's not
was
even getting good. It's
hilarious.
just getting
I
like
liked how that-
logical. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I looked into that
yeah.
part of the review. Definitely.
Yeah, I wanted to do it too, but I didn't know if I wanted to go there. So,
And
looking through these other patch notes, and I'm trying to skip some. So, fixed a bug where you could travel to locked locations on the map. I don't remember people saying anything about that. I never experienced it.
Oh,
I mean, I know with
the
certain
warp
exploits.
glitch.
it's like the whole glitch that like
yeah.
caused the finish the game under 2 minutes thing
Yeah,
happen.
that's why I bought the 4th copy, so I was able to do that on the Xbox version.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's too bad that they patched that out. But I'm like, I kind of figured that most of the development in the speedrun was going into like the run without that glitch.
Right, and they created 2 separate categories
Yeah.
for it, and it was definitely
Yeah.
a good idea.
Because I really don't think, well, you warped all the way to the end. Like, what else could you do to optimize that? There's really not much else you can do.
Yeah, unless they want to do like a full run with it, which could have been interesting. Because at that point, I mean, you could go anywhere all the time. It would have created some really crazy routes.
Yeah.
Because I know on the console version of the glitch, you can go to any mission that you want. It wasn't even a specific level. The PC version of the warp glitch only allowed you to go to the beginning of each certain level, but on the console you can go to any mission. So you could bounce wherever you wanted in the game, at least on the console version. It was crazy.
Did they patch that?
It was absolutely
Yeah, they patched it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Ah.
So I hope
It's
the
One thing-
speedrun community is not too upset.
Yeah, but one glitch I'm glad that they did not patch. Like I mentioned this earlier, that you can get Patrick and Sandy into SpongeBob's house, Sandy's tree dome. What was the other one? Oh, and the Krusty Krab. And it was pretty funny. I made a picture actually with Patrick sitting behind the cash register, and I put the captions, "No, this is Patrick." Yeah, I couldn't help it. It's an obvious joke, but I don't know if they
Yeah.
intended. Okay, obviously it's not intended for them to go in those areas. But what's even funnier is that when you're in SpongeBob's house with Sandy and Patrick, and you walk to the note by Mr. Krabs, activates the beast. And what's funny is that SpongeBob's voice will come out of Patrick and Sandy's mouths when you do that. And it was hilarious. I burst out laughing when I seen that. It wish I could record it,
Yeah.
and that's disappointing because the Switch version does not have gameplay capture. Man, I really want to record that, but I just couldn't. I can get with screenshots, and it's even funnier when there's actual video. Yeah, it was really interesting. But when you get Patrick and Sandy into the tree dome, you actually got 2 Sandys and you got 2 Patricks, and that's pretty funny too. Really like that glitch. But Loopy Long Plays, a YouTube channel, they figured out a way to get Sandy into the second area of Jellyfish Fields. I thought that was very interesting because I looked into it and nobody was talking about the glitch that I was just talking about, where I can get Patrick and Sandy into these areas. Loopy Long Plays got Sandy into the second area of Jellyfish Fields with the same trick I did. By going to Sandy's dream, then you warp to the spelunking mission where Patrick has to go into the caves. It works. It was interesting being able to get to play Sandy in this area. Now, unfortunately, you can't get Sandy into the other areas because you just switch right back to SpongeBob. That's a little disappointing. I'm glad that they did not patch that. It was a really fun glitch. And
oh, okay. I was about to ask if you guys were there.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing.
Yeah, I actually have to leave within like 5 minutes or so. I'm sorry, I didn't know it was gonna go this long, and something came up unexpectedly. But I can keep going for about 5 minutes, and you guys can keep going like after that. I'm just like my time will have to be up, so you don't need to rush it for me or anything. But I'll make an exit here soon.
All right, but will this still be recording?
Yeah, I'll continue recording it. It's all good, and I'll send it to you when I get home.
Okay. So, what can we expect from the sequel? I know it's a really weird thing to transition to after talking about bugs and glitches, but well, maybe we already talked about this, but
yeah, I mean, we kind of did.
When I see the multiplayer mode, yeah, go on ahead.
Oh, yeah, we kind of did, but I hope one of my biggest, I'd say, wishes for a sequel is like a bigger open world, because obviously like the layout and stuff of buildings and certain locations and the main hub world in Rehydrated, or I guess the original game in general, is very weird. Like, you know, the placement for Sandy's Tree Dome and everything. I think they could do like a more open map sort of thing, and I mean, I don't want to like compare it to this completely, but sort of like a Breath of the Wild situation. Obviously not to that same scope, but I think it would be cool if you have like a lot bigger of a world you start off in, and then SpongeBob can get into like a boat or something and drive to like far off locations, and once you get there, maybe it's like marked on a map and then you can teleport or something like that. But I think like a bigger map of Bikini Bottom in general would be really cool.
Not necessarily Jack 2, but
yeah, nothing too crazy.
Yeah, but I get what you're talking about. Just bigger, but not too big.
Yeah, things just seemed really cramped in the original, and it's fine, obviously. But something, I just think there's a lot more potential for that. But it depends on how the game plays, I guess.
Yeah, and I think like a good thing you could look at is look at Crash 4, like It's About Time, and look at how much like more spread out it just looks compared to the original trilogy. You know, it looks crazy. You know, it looks crazy, like how much bigger and brighter and just more ambitious that game looks. I want to see that with SpongeBob. I want to see like BFBB like expanded in that format, you know. And so that's kind of, I mean, I could go on all day like listing things that I want to see in a sequel, but ultimately just like make it bigger, better, and just give people a reason to care about SpongeBob games is what I would say.
And after the movie game, their quality started becoming more questionable. It's kind of like how Crash and Spyro went. Because after Crash 3 and Spyro 3, they started to get mixed quality.
Yeah.
People still regard Crash to Insanity as one of the best Crash games, but it's rushed.
My hope is that
And
Purple
people-
Lamp, from working on Rehydrated, knows like what the fans like, what made the original so good in the first place, and they can take that knowledge and create a new game out of that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, when I see the multiplayer mode, I can't help but wonder how these characters like Squidward, Mr. Krabs would play in the sequel if they were to do that. I mean, why make them playable and not use that? You got the character models already there and somewhat abilities already there,
Yeah.
and just apply
I
that to the sequel.
I could totally imagine them using like Squidward's ink and like some weird mechanics. I think that'd be really cool. You know, you can blind robots, for example, maybe have them like shoot at other robots. Like that'd be really cool.
Or run around circles and run to walls or something.
Yeah, or maybe you can make like
Or
a really
even-
rough surface smooth with the ink and use that to kind of traverse new areas. I mean, there's just so many things they could do. You know, so much to pull from in the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, look at Plankton in Creature from the Krusty Krab. He's got this helmet thing that can freeze enemies, and well, imagine if they can just expand upon that for, like, say, if Plankton's playable. And kind of like
Exactly.
how they're doing Cortex in Crash 4.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, Cortex already had a ray gun in the previous games, like Twin Sanity, and they're just expanding it with more puzzle features, and more expanded, more fleshed out. I just think that's where the series needs to go, is needs to expand, you know, adapt to the current gaming field.
Absolutely. I actually haven't even played the multiplayer yet. I mean, I heard really bad things. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad. It's for rock bottom. Before this patch, me and someone else played it. It felt like it dragged on forever, and it was just for rock bottom music playing, and I almost fell asleep.
Mm.
No, I'm not joking, but the patch did fix that, where they cycle the music. But man, this was a big selling point for this game, was the multiplayer and Robo Squidward, and
Yeah, that's
the best I can.
sick.
Best I can. Yeah, it's. I was expecting a little bit more. I don't know. And way you finish it, you'd expect like maybe a cutscene for Robo Squidward or something. You beat him, and nothing. There's not even any new sound effects for him, and that kind of
Yeah.
sucks.
I mean, this game was obviously rushed with all the problems that it had and the multiplayer and everything, and that sucks. But
It was rushed.
Yeah.
But we can tell that they put a lot of heart and effort, a
Oh,
lot of
absolutely.
more focus into the single player mode.
But with that being said,
Uh,
guys, I recently got a message, and I have to be somewhere unexpectedly, and I really apologize. But thank you for having me on this podcast. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do something similar in the future with both of you.
No problem. Glad to have you on
Yeah,
here.
Thank you. And I guess this is off the video now. I'm gonna keep it recording for you, and when I get home, I'll go ahead and I'll cut it down a bit, and then send it to you whichever way you like.
Send it to my email. It's over my Twitter. There's email on my Twitter profile. You can just send it there.
Okay, that sounds good. And once again, I'm sorry for leaving early. I definitely was not planning on that.
No problem. Things come up, just like with our other co-host who was going to join us today, but things came up. So
Yeah.
we'll be back next week with another episode. So you'll be able to join us then. Maybe I can pick a better time.
Well, I
That's
thought
not be
today's
so-
time today's time was great. You know, I set it aside and everything. It's just, you know how things are. But
Yeah. Things come up unexpectedly. I'm surprised nothing came up here yet. Oh, we're not jinx it.
yeah, and I appreciate the invite, and I can't wait to watch this. But yeah, I guess I'll see you guys later.
All right.
Alright.
See ya.
All right,
You
see ya.
got. See you later. So, that we come to our last topic, and want to revisit the Nickelodeon game remakes lists. It came out back in 2018, year before SpongeBob Rehydrated was announced. So, ready to get into it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
The reason why I was including it in this podcast is I had a stupid long video going over this, thinking of what exactly is going to be remade, but that's kind of partially why I haven't been making as much content, because it's a long video, and long videos are kind of a headache for me to work on.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
the audio is the audio is like 15 minutes long, and I've been dreading working on that. Named 16 specific franchises, or series, or shows, whichever you want to call them. I'm going to take it that they named a specific franchise. They mean they're going to remake one game for each franchise. Since SpongeBob has already got his remake, it's likely that he's not going to get any more remakes after Rehydrated, maybe outside of, say, Nicktoons. So that really takes this number of series on the list down to 15. But there are 4 shows on this list that never got a single video game all to themselves. You know that?
I think I remember seeing that.
Before shows that didn't get any video games are at Scratch, which only had 1 season, and I don't know if many people remember it. Vader Zim, which just got Enter the Florpus on Netflix last year. I actually watched it recently after watching a couple of the original episodes, because I never watched it growing up. And it's actually pretty good. And when it's funny, it's dang funny, despite being dark at times, which is kind of what Invader Zim is known for. Found that out after I got back into it. There's My Life as a Teenage Robot, and I actually just got back into watching this show recently. Bought all 3 seasons on Amazon because I have so many memories of this show. And boy, and I didn't know until recently that the show was actually canceled after its 3rd season. Well, it's technically the season about a month after the 2nd season ended. The 3rd season was going to be the last to come out. They shoved it to Nicktoons, or got worse ratings, which was the reason why they canceled the show in the first place. And then we never seen it again. And that was kind of disappointing. And the 4th show was Rocko's Modern Life, which did actually get a movie along with Invader Zim last year on Netflix, thanks to the Netflix Nickelodeon agreement. And, well, I don't know if you saw my video on this, but because of this, it led me to believe that they are remaking the Nicktoons series of games. Because they appeared from Attack of the Toybots onward, with Invader Zim being the main villain in Android Invasion for the Dig. And I actually played that game. By the way, have you ever heard of Nicktoons Android Invasion?
Android Invasion. I can't say I've heard of that. Sure that
it's
is.
for the Dig, an educational game.
Oh, that's why I didn't hear of it.
I played it, and I thought it was a pretty good game. And it did solve some of the issues that I had with Attack of the Toybots, where, SpongeBob can use his pants to fly. He can use bubbles. And, of course, El Tigre is playable, and he has better abilities than his own game, which I'll get to. And Danny Phantom, I can't remember much of his gameplay, but I thought it was pretty good. And it was a pretty fun game. Of course, I had these math problems I had to deal with, but still a pretty solid game. And Invader Zim was the villain, and it fits perfectly compared to Globs of Doom, which is him as the hero, and Dib is the villain, and technically it's the other way around. I mean, I get Zim wants to save the Earth to destroy it. Dib as the villain, he's technically the good guy in the show. Oh, I don't know if you watched Invader Zim, but that's basically how it is.
Definitely need to get to eventually. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but there's just so many things that I have my watch list, and
Yeah,
been taking this time off to definitely watch some good TV.
Yeah, if you like dark comedy, Invader Zim, that's it. It's dark.
Right.
It's got dark humor, but when it is funny, it's funny. I don't know. It's weird at times because some of the background character models and stuff like that. Outside the main characters, I'm kind of mixed on them, but the main characters I'm fine with. How they look and all that. It's a pretty funny show. And so is My Life as a Teenage Robot.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like Sonic Boom, which unfortunately had a similar fate where they knocked it to Boomerang for its second season, and then got canceled. So that really disappoints me that both shows that I really enjoyed got that treatment. Both Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. I was going to make a video on that, but I don't know how it would work. I got distracted there for a minute.
No worries.
But,
And
the list.
let's so you know, I am gonna have to like head off in like 10-ish minutes or so. So I guess we can kind of just like talk about what we think is gonna happen and what we want to happen. Was that what you were going for?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to go through the list top to bottom, but since we're kind of close out, so just basically imagine what's going to happen next as far as remakes go. So I'm thinking series that have the most nostalgic properties to them, not just the games themselves, but the shows. If Very Odd Parents, the list says U.S. only, so Shadow Showdown didn't release just in the U.S. Breaking the Rules did. It was the first game. That one will probably be remade. I hear a lot of people really like that game.
I kind of hope that doesn't impact the Nicktoons games anyway, because I think it'd kind of suck if that like restricted the Nicktoons games, anything with like Fairly Odd Parents to the US, because I think all those games were released globally, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Nicktoons.
I'm not really sure what's going on with that.
Breaking the Rules. Breaking the Rules was the only game that released in the US. Shadow Showdown released worldwide, and it was the sequel. Nicktoons games were released worldwide. And to be honest, if the Nicktoons games were going to be remade, I think they should be reimagined or reworked, because I think some of the stuff is outdated. The first game, there was a lot of things that need to work. Maybe they can expand it with extra characters and worlds. I mean, with My Life as a Teenage Robot chance, why not? Because that show needs more. That show needs more attention. It's an underrated gem, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Hack. That is another big one that THQ can easily work off of, because it started as a video game TV show before I heard botched it with the TV show. Semi-reboot. Yeah. I don't know how it went. Funnily enough, I just ordered TAC 2, and it shipped yesterday. It should be getting here soon. I want to revisit TAC 2, because I've heard that's the best one in the series. TAC 1 is kind of like Jak and Daxter, if I remember correctly. The open world. TAC 2 is more linear. TAC 3 is more open, I guess. I don't really know how it worked, but it had a focus on 2-player. But if they wanted to, you could take the Crash approach with TAC, because 3 games in 1. Because it started as a game created by Nickelodeon before they turned it into a TV show. In fact, it easily work. Everyone has got nostalgic properties as Danny Phantom. It only got 2 games to itself. Outside of that, it was the Nicktoons games. The handheld games were exclusive to GBA, and they were just basically 2D beat-em-up games. I played Ultimate Enemy. It was a good game, but I found it kind of repetitive. if I was to revisit it. Jimmy Neutron is another nostalgic one. It's one of the bigger shows when you think of Nickelodeon. And so it'd make a no-brainer to remake the game for that. Me personally, I would hope it's Attack of the Twonkies. I mean, other people have their favorite Jimmy Neutron games. I did a poll recently, and for some reason, the movie game came out as the one people wanted to remake the most. I don't understand why. It was a Revenge of a Flying Dutchman era Nickelodeon game. Attack of the Twonkies was really fun. I guess it can get a little bit repetitive, but it's got enough variety to keep interest. So, you have a special, and the game itself has their own charms, but, you know, it's a pretty good game. I like it. I actually revisited it lately, and all the memories started flooding back in, and oh my gosh, it was so good. And it did over the special? Was it actually made the Twonkies seem more like a legitimate threat over the special? You know what I mean? I don't know if you played it, but really good. They're a lot more menacing, too.
I own it, so I will be picking it up eventually. It's in my library right now, waiting to be played.
Yeah, I recommend it. It's really good. Out of all those on the list, those are the ones I can think of being remade. Now, there's, of course, Avatar, which I just heard yesterday. The creators who were working on the live-action remake of the show left the project. I thought they could release the game remake of the first game because that was the most popular one of the trilogy alongside that. And I don't know how that's going to go now since the creators left the project. I mean, it's a big franchise from Nickelodeon, that's for sure. I mean, they even included it in Smite, I think, recently.
Yeah.
They know it's a humongous franchise. Even after the film disaster, which, funnily enough, is my only experience with the show or franchise, boy, it didn't help my opinion on the series, that's for sure. Or it didn't get me into it, at least. Yeah, that's pretty much the only ones I can think of that's going to be remade, possibly next. And if they wanted to, they could do Nicktoons first to introduce people to all these different series, and then release the individual remakes at different times. Makes sense, but if the games were like how they originally were, then I don't think it's going to leave that good of an impression if they just do direct remakes of the originals. Attack of Toybots, yes, it started introducing things that helped it, but I just think that they're kind of rough.
Yeah.
So, one last thing I wanted to bring up before ending the podcast. Can't remember what it was. Tigray. I don't know if many people know this, but El Tigre actually had a video game all to itself despite having one season. You want to know how it went?
I mean, I assume it wasn't like anything that impactful, but I actually did see that when I was like doing research for my latest video. I was like, oh, I never even seen the show, but let alone know that I had a video game.
I liked the show. I did watch it quite a bit back in the day when it was on. But this game was utter, I want to say garbage, because it was bad. It was bad. There's no voice acting whatsoever. I know people give Rehydrated whatever they do because it has no new voice acting. But El Tigre had no voice acting whatsoever. And this is 2007, months around the Nicktoons Attack the Toybots. Actually, it released 6 days after Attack the Toybots. It sucked. It was an entirely 2D side-scroller with a tiny bit of combat mixed in. These birds that were hitting me every 5 seconds, and I was literally screaming the entire time, saying Crash Bandicoot ripoff. They looked straight out of Crash Bandicoot.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Glad they ripped off a good franchise.
Yeah, and there's no bosses either. bosses.
Oh.
They make it look like it's going to be a boss, and press one button, it's done. Blue Tongue are the ones who developed the game. I mean, Attack the Toy Bots. I know I gave my opinion on that game, but it's a lot more polished experience compared to LT Grey. It's got characters, it's got voice acting, it's got lots of extra content and unlockables. And yeah, we'll never once again say Attack of the Toy Bots sucks. After that, Nicktoons actually went into Incinerator Studios for Globs of Doom. So, I don't know how that went because I never played it. LT Grey, oh dear. I played it. I remember getting the game at one time, and then never touching it again until I made that video. Well, scripted that video. And then I can see why I never touched it again. There's only 4 levels, 4 really long levels that don't do anything impressive, and 2 bonus missions, which are just reskinned versions of the SpongeBob tongue sliding sections from Attack the Toy Bots. And it includes a bonus episode. You can watch an actual episode of LT Grey on the disc. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure there are other better episodes out there than the one they picked, but you know, it is what it is. I just can't see THQ Nordic and Nickelodeon wanting that particular game remade in the shape it was in. Also just toss out the original and just reimagine it, make it completely different, like the Nicktoons games or whatever. I'm not seeing it doing well.
Yeah.
That's just me. Yeah, that's... Actually wanted to go a little further with that list, but since we're running out of time, we're just going to have to finish it up right here. So, yeah. All of you who are watching, thank you all so much for tuning in to the channel's first podcast. And thanks to RidersDX for being our guest for this episode.
Oh yeah, anytime. You know, I love SpongeBob. I love Nickelodeon. I love games. I love talking. You know, it's a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, maybe once more Nickelodeon stuff comes up, we can have you on the podcast again. Just seemed like a week ago. Yeah, because it seemed like a week ago that they're bringing Ren and Stimpy back, and also bringing Rugrats back next year. So with them bringing back all these franchises, they're sure we'll have something to talk about in the near future.
You know, it's interesting because those are both franchises that are in the new Nickelodeon Kart Racers game. So I think Nickelodeon definitely would like to see them incorporate into games in a sense. So you never know.
Yeah. Also threw Avatar and Danny Phantom into that game as well.
So you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, I would kill for a Danny Phantom revival. That's like the one other Nickelodeon show I love besides SpongeBob. Come on, let's go.
If there are,
Danny Phantom all the way.
If there are any revivals of Nickelodeon shows, it's going to be Danny Phantom, My Life as a Teenage Robot. Come on, it deserves it. Vader Zim. It was cut too short. Yes, they brought it back for a movie, but they need to bring it back. I like the new designs and style, whatever, for the movie. Neutron, don't pull a Planet Sheen. Just don't.
Yeah. Well, I think they were doing with like.
I can't believe they actually did that.
You know, I heard that Patrick just now is getting his own spin-off at SpongeBob. And I'm like,
yes.
Oh, make.
Yes.
You really can't make a comedic spin-off of a. You can't make a spin-off off of the comedic character, in my opinion. It never works. The reason that they're so funny is because everyone else around them is so smart. That's the only reason.
Yeah, Squidward's the smartest one. But I'm also disappointed by these. Yeah, it's like the Sonic Boom Knuckles getting him his own TV show.
It's not work.
Boy. Yeah, but I'm also disappointed by these SpongeBob spin-offs because it does go against Steven Hillenburg's wishes for no spin-offs, and I'm kind of disappointed by how they did that. Why they did that after he died. So
It's Nickelodeon,
Yeah.
so it is what it is.
yeah, I can't. And I think somebody brought it up. I'm sure somebody brought it up. Somebody had to. At where they put Nickelodeon logo on Mr. Krabs, and am I really going to defile this grave for money? Of course I am. I'm sure somebody did that after they heard that.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody does something, whenever these companies do something like, I'm sure they use that meme every single time. I'm just disappointed at Nickelodeon for that. I like all the other stuff they're doing with bringing all these shows back, but SpongeBob, they're just, I think, dragging it out too long. Very Odd Parents overstates welcome, if you ask me, because I mean, come on, how long can you really keep dragging Very Odd Parents out?
Yeah.
I mean, at least Danny Phantom had a solid ending, so
Yeah. But all right. Well, it was great to be here.
Yeah, I accidentally went over a few minutes longer. I meant to end it a few minutes ago, but we got sidetracked again. So yeah, once again, thank you all for watching. Thank you, writers, for participating in this. And when Bassub goes back and rewatches this later, thank you for participating as well and for recording this podcast. And hopefully, we'll be back next week with another guest talking about Crash Bandicoot 4, and that's going to be really interesting. So that's basically what we're going to do every single podcast. We're going to have a different guest depending on the community or topic we're talking about. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, writers, for... I know I said thank you like probably 3 or 4 times already, but thanks for taking part in this. It was really fun. And I'm glad to have you on again sometime. Next time we decide to talk about Nickelodeon.
All right.
Or maybe we'll have a Samurai Jack themed episode, because Samurai Jack Battle Through Time does release next week.
Ooh, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I made a video talking about it, and I actually revisited that recently. But I don't want to get into it again. But the theme song is I'm still nostalgic about. I never watched the 5th season, so I'm interested to see how this game is playing out.
You really need to watch that. That's a great set of episodes. It is very different from the first 4 seasons, though. But okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for a 5th time for stopping by, and thank you all so much for watching for the 5th time, and we will see you back here later. Also, before I go, links in the description below to RidersDX's channel for those who are interested in more Nickelodeon and SpongeBob content, and also links in the description below to Bassub's channel for if you want more SpongeBob or Sly Cooper content. As for me, well, if you're watching it here, then, well, I don't really need to provide a link because you're already here. If you want to subscribe, well, subscribe button is the bottom right corner or under this video. And yeah, see you guys back here next time.
All right, I'm gonna take off, but yeah, thanks for having me, and just let me know if you need anything.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Well,
okay, see ya.
time. Bye.